Live. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm back on YouTube. And for some reason I can't pull up my personal page to give y'all the link. I don't know. It just keep this whole meta business page thing. It kind of like intertwined everything, and now I can't find my stuff. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. But anyway, go higher rate. Okay, so we're back over here. So just wait till I post it here after the video is over and watch that and watch it all the way to the end. It's probably the video. The first part of it is the haka, but at the end he starts talking about aloha and the actual meaning of it. And the name, he breaks down all three syllables and what it actually means. It's deeper than just a greeting like hi and bye or welcome. It's so much deeper, and it was beautiful the way he explained it. I was like, that was amazing, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the reading. I'll share some of our little stories and stuff, possibly depending on where we at. So let's get the reading done first, and now see. Uh, 708. Chapter 14. Okay, Tiffany, you said you've been waiting for us to get to this part. Okay, we back. Ema, we back. She Brew, Global Purpose, Belinda Brown, Tech Ray, Set Apart, Living, Grand Rising again, y'all. Okay, chapter 14, page 708. These are Tay's revelations of Jehovah's times and seasons appointed unto the chosen. The shortest day on the northern line of the sun shall be the end of the year, and shall be called the old year's day, saith Jehovah. And there's two references in this verse. So after the shortest day on the northern line, after it has reference number 18, and 18 at the bottom says the shortest day on the northern line of the sun. And then towards the end of the verse, old year's day, saith Jehovah. After day is reference number 19, and 19 says, and it shall be called the last day of the old year, saith Jehovah. And let me just go ahead and read reference 20 and 21 for the next verse, so I'm going to start over, then I'm going to just read through. So after north, in the next verse is reference number 20, and it says at the bottom, the sun starteth on his southern course, or starteth towards the north. And then after, and shall be called day, it's reference number 21 after called at the bottom. 21 says, and it shall be called the New Year's Day. So let me go back and read the first three verses again, but then I'm gonna have to go to the first reference letter and we're gonna read that. Okay. These are Tay's revelations of Jehovah's times and seasons appointed unto the chosen. The shortest day on the northern line of the sun shall be the end of the year, and shall be called the old year's day, said Jehovah. And the first day thereafter, when the sun on his southern course starteth toward the north, shall be the beginning of the year, and shall be called New Year's Day. And after New Year's Day is reference letter A. Remember, the letter references at the end of the book, the current book that you're reading. Oh, the next book is the book of Shalom. We're going to start that today. We're definitely going to start that today. Okay. Okay. On page 711, reference letter A says, it cannot be denied that Old Year's Day and New Year's Day in relation to the winter solstice and summer solstice appears to be completely the opposite between the 1882 and 1891 editions. This apparent contradiction has been the source of endless debates. We, the editors, have customarily celebrated these events in conjunction with the winter solstice. This is based on our observation that ancient as well as modern cultures in the northern hemisphere have historically emphasized winter solstice, as well as the fact that our own communications and council have supported this conclusion. These communications indicated that the conundrum is the result of ambiguous terminology. In the 1882 edition, Northern Line refers to the perspective from the northern hemisphere and started on his southern course, meaning rising up from the south. Admittedly, a confusing choice of words, even if this interpretation is correct, since elsewhere in OAHSPE, Northern Line is used as a reference to the Tropic of Cancer. However, by adding shortest day to Northern Line makes it clear that the 1891 editors interpreted Northern Line as meaning from the perspective of the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, so going back to page 708, and let me just reread it again from one and keep going. All right. These are Tay's revelations of Jehovah's times and seasons appointed unto the chosen. The shortest day on the northern line of the sun shall be the end of the year, and shall be called the old year's day, said Jehovah. And the first day thereafter, course starteth towards the north, shall be the beginning of the year, and shall be called New Year's Day. These are my times these are my times of the end and the beginning of the year, which I created, and I made the earth and the sun as my written testimony thereof. And I blessed and sanctified the old year's day and the New Year's day, and appointed them to be holy days, that men might remember the order and the system of my works. And I said unto man, let me say something real quick that I notice here. The system and order of works. You know how I always say, um, man, they can screw with everything, but they can't screw with the clock in the sky, the sun and the moon and stars. What I've noticed here, the sky, not only the sky is absolutely beautiful, there are no chemtrails covering up the sky. Now, what you will see kind of covering up the top of the mountainside is some clouds, right? And that's one thing we figured out the first couple of days. We're like, the clouds stay here or do they ever move? And I mentioned that because when we was watching Nope, the movie Nope, if y'all haven't seen Nope, go watch Nope. Nope with the dude that played from Get Out, who was put in a sunken place. A lot of people say ain't got no kind of plot or anything to it. And so I tried to I tried to put those uh other people reviews out of my head by watching it. But it did have me kind of thinking. I'm like, what is this really? What is this? Is this an alien invasion? It took me a while to catch on exactly what was happening, right? But so without giving you any kind of spoilers, I still think it was pretty good. You go watch it. Y'all watch and tell me what y'all think before I give you my interpretation of what I think things were. But anyway, I brought that up because in they realized there was a certain cloud that never moved. So they realized that it wasn't like a real cloud and there was something hidden behind the cloud. So when I saw this, I was like, baby, got a point. Are the clouds moving over the mountains? So when we saw that in the morning, they weren't there, but they kind of fade back in, so to speak, and they still cover the mountaintops. It's a beautiful scene. As a matter of fact, they said, but you got to go to the Big Island. So when we do go to the Big Island, the next time we come, we are going to drive up. They say you can drive up. They have a path carved out. And this, I asked about rails. I said, is it rails? Are we in danger of falling off to the side? Falling off the side? He said, no, it's all paved, rails and stuff going all the way up. He said, some people actually hike to the top. He said, but right at the top, he said, if you go up there, you will find snow at the top of those mountains up there. And people actually go up there and they ski or they like boogie board with the in the ice at the top of the mountain here in Hawaii. I'm like, what? Yeah, so we're gonna check into that, but that's gonna be next time. So if y'all don't get there before I do, I'll show it to y'all when we get there in a year or two. Bronzy, Yogi, Shalom, Stephen, peace and blessings. Audrey, Shalom. You know what, Bronze Yogi, I responded to your message. Now I thought about something, right? So Bronze Yogi asked me about my maiden name. It was James, Pamela James, right? Y'all watch Martin. Hey, me and Pam got the same name, right? Peace. But listen, James is my maiden name from my father's side, right? And so there might be some relation. You said your family's in Maryland and I forgot the other place. But anyway, on my father's side, right, his family, at least his family from his mother's side of the family, right? South Carolina and Virginia. It has been a struggle for us to get the rest of the side of my father's family because of um, their situation when they were growing up. They were pretty much raised by their grandmother because their mother, my grandma, my great grandma, um, no, yeah, my hold on, my daddy, his mama, yeah, his mother died when they were younger, and the father, they didn't really spend much time with him, so they grew up with my great grandmother. So my dad's side of the family, we have been for like a couple years, and even more so after he passed away a few years ago, trying to put together the pieces of my dad's side of the family, right? So but really there was like, and even his sister, my aunt Nene in South Carolina, they have one living relative that they know of that they've been keeping in contact with, but she like real old school. And she said it's kind of that she got as much, she said she got as much information out of her as she possibly could about their dad on their side. So there's like a big disconnection after the information we got for my dad's mother and father. So we're still actually looking. So we very well could be, right? So my father was named after his dad. He's a junior. His name is Johnny James Jr. So I know my dad's side of the family were in Norfolk, but I'm sure they could have been a few other places as well, based on some of the other information we've been able to gather up. So I don't know. I'm gonna go back to the message what you were saying, and I'm gonna start digging into that a little bit. I don't know. We could be, right? You said look like some of the James on your side of the family. I don't know. It could be. You look, Bronze. Yo, you could be the missing link to what we've been searching for on my father's side for some years now, right? So I'll be chatting with you. All right. Go back to what we said. Go back to page 708. Go to 5, verse 5. And I blessed and sanctified the Old Year's Day and the New Year's Day, and I appointed them to be holy days, that men might remember the order and the system of my works. And I said unto man, from one New Year's Day unto the succeeding one shall be called 1 year. For it is one completed, for it is one completed oscillation of the earth and of her revolution in the orbit where I placed her. Let me read that one more time. And I said unto man, from one New Year's Day unto the succeeding one shall be called 1 year, for it is one completed oscillation of the earth and of her revolution in the orbit where I placed her. Therefore, what thou hast completed within a year shall be remembered by thee, that thou mayest judge thyself therein. And in the next year thou shalt render up in full forgiveness in all things against all people. And with the setting of the sun on that day, thou shalt be purged of all animosity and claims against every man, woman, and child in all the world. Kind of sound like the Day of Atonement to me a little bit. And thou shalt make acknowledgement of this in words and songs and prayers and in tokens of no intrinsic value to whomsoever thou shalt have offended during the past year. Tay said, for which reason the old year's day shall be named the most holy Sabbath. Right. It definitely sounds like the Day of Atonement to me, right? Look, behold, behold, it is in accord with his heavenly kingdoms, and it shall be with thee a day of spiritual communion and of praise to Jehovah and his creations, with with music and oratory and ceremonies and processions for thy youth, orderly and well disciplined. And on the New Year's Day thou shalt rejoice and sing and dance, mingling together, old and young, even as the old year and the new year are joined together side by side. The seventh day of the new year shall be thy next Sabbath day, and it shall be a day of rest and of spiritual communion and praise to Jehovah and his creations, with singing and oratory. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. For this has been proven in all the world to be good for man, right? So even when we read a few days ago when it was talking about things and practices that the Creator was now rendering judgment was rendered against the Sabbath, but he said he's not taking the practice away, meaning that it was a good thing, even though some of the things that he was rendering judgment against, like this doesn't apply, he kept the Sabbath because that is good for man. And I'm telling you, if you work every day, like if you don't realize that taking a day of rest is good for you, try and keep working like constantly. Your body eventually going to give out. It's going to take its rest. We are in Angela in Big Blue in OAHSPE. We're in the Book of Inspiration, page 709, XIV, page 709, verse 14. I'm gonna read it again. And there, with every video in the description, there's a link for the online OAHSPE if you don't have the actual printed copy of it. All right. But I recommend spend the $30 and get a copy. Get a copy just so you can just go through stuff. You can touch it. You can highlight. Sometimes it depends on what type of apps you got on your electronics to where you can highlight stuff. But sometimes I don't know. I love my electronic books and stuff that I can carry around. But some things I just need to be able to touch because I got to highlight and I got to be able to reference it quick and all this stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school, but some things I got to keep and have in my hand. So go back to verse 14. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. Oh, you got the 1842 edition. Yeah, so you got the two different versions. I mean, not two different versions, the two different volumes, volume 1 and volume 2. Yeah, I'm not sure what page. So go to the Book of Inspiration, and it's probably located in volume 2. Um, it's the Book of Inspiration, chapter 14, chapter XIV. Okay. Verse I read 14 again and keep going. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. For this hath been proven in all the world to be good for man. These then shall be the moon's days, months. The first new moon's day after New Year's Day shall be the beginning of the first month, and the completion of the fourth quarter of the moon shall be the completion of the first month, and it shall be named first month. The next 4 quarters of the moon shall be the second month, and it shall be named second month. And the next completed 4 quarters of the moon shall be named third month, and so on to the completion of the year. Such then shall be the months in any and every year, for these are the moon's times as Jehovah created them. Neither shall it matter or not whether the months overlap a New Year's Day, as they are created and moved by the Almighty. Even so shall man compute and register them. For example, a New Year's Day, man may come upon the 20th day of the 12th month, or on another moon's day, still as they fall, so shall they be numbered in truth. As the moon's time differeth to different continents, so shall the moon's times of the inhabitants of different continents be locally unto them. Right. So remember, my babies do not realize that. Well, I should be done with my live anyway. Hold on. They still trying to get the concept of the time span that we, where we are, right? All right, hold on. What was I at? I was about to say. Okay, so even when you read the Bible, right? A lot of people when they read the Bible, and this is something that I just noticed, and you actually have to not just do all the book knowledge and search the books and then think you were scholar on what the Father was saying or whatever, even the days and the Sabbath. You actually have to get out there and observe the lost sound. Okay, sorry. Gotta stop it and come back in. I forgot that happens. Hold on. Thank you for the reminder, Tigva. Okay. Anytime a call comes through and I'm live, it kills my sound. Hold on, let me bring them back. I gotta figure out something so I don't have all these little interruptions like this. Maybe I need to go on airplane mode, but I think if I'm on airplane mode, I might not be able to get on the Wi-Fi. We'll see. Okay, it's back live. All right, y'all. I'm back live over here. Okay, so the portion that we're reading here in the Book of Inspiration, it sounds a lot about what we really similar to what we read in the Book of Luminaries when we're reading through the Book of Enoch. If y'all read it, I know most of y'all have. But a lot of these things do not disturb my word. I might have to see how to use my do not disturb, but I never use it, so I'm gonna have to look at that. But with the Book of Enoch and counting like the moon's days and actually getting out there, that's where I don't know. Some people do get out there and observe, but some people when they don't, they start getting into like the 13th month and all those different things to where it becomes confusing to some people, especially if you don't actually get out there and observe yourself. Now it's gonna take a couple years. I'm gonna just be honest with you because I've been doing it probably like a year less than what we've been doing live. So about 3 years I've been tracking. There are some things that I'm just now grasping a hold of by watching, marking, looking at the data and what's changing and what's happening, with the sun, moon, and the stars, right? So it's going to take a few years to do that. You have to have patience and you have to be consistent and diligent in order to see the pattern, right? Hold on, but it was something else I was about to say with let me just keep reading and see if it come back to me. Verse 21 on page 709 in chapter 14. Neither shall it matter. Let me go back to 20. Such then shall be the months in any and every year, for these are the moon's times as Jehovah created them. Neither shall it matter or not whether the months overlap on New Year's Day, as they are created and moved by the Almighty. Even so, man shall compute and register them. Okay, that's what it was. That's what I was about to say. Okay. So what I found out is what people sometimes overlook when you read in the scriptures, you can the Holy Bible, KJV, whatever version, when it starts talking about this and you're researching this, and when they start calculating time by actually watching, you have to remember, you have to do it, you have to call the new moon from the land where you're currently at. And what I found a lot of times, people here that live in America, they try and do everything according to Jerusalem's time, but you don't live over there, right? So you get it off. So if everybody celebrated it according to the landmass where they currently live, if you tracked it here, you would do it on time. Because remember, Jerusalem in America, they're ahead of us by like 10, 12 hours, just depending on where. So if you're doing it according to how Jerusalem calls it, you're already late, right? Because you would be missed it because you're waiting for them to call it. When according to the time zones, we're behind them like a whole day, almost a whole day, half a day, just depending on where, right? So you cannot do that. That's why when you're looking for it, don't look for anybody that live outside of your time zone or whatever. You're still getting used to it, trying to track it, but you need to like verify your callings, who called it out, who's seen, just verify it. So you have a few consistent things, especially if the skies are covered with chemtrails and clouds and stuff and you can't see it, because that happens a lot, at least in Virginia. I know it does for me. So I learned how to use different resources and check in with different people at the places close by me that I've checked into and found that their callings are credible. Then I can call it. But if you understand that, when you start tracking the time, the creator's time clock and stuff, you won't go wrong. At least in that point, you just remember, calculate it from where you currently live. And if you decide to go visit and live in Israel, Jerusalem, wherever over in Africa, you decide just to go live there, then because you're living there now you would observe it based on the land you're currently living in. So always remember that. Anita says, as it states in 14, the Sabbath has to do with the new year and is the moon. As As it states in 14, the Sabbath has to do with the new year, and is the moon days the same? I think I'm still reading it wrong. The moon day. The the moon days stay the same, like they don't change. What changes is how we're tracking them and trying to track them according to like um the Gregorian calendar that we're currently on, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then looking at January, February, March. That's what kind of screw us up, right? So you got to spend a little time washing it through, making sure you get the first, second, like with the Passover is considered like the first month of the year. You got to learn how to like look at it from the perspective, you have to understand both, so you can line up, okay, so March is the first month, right? So when you get to March, instead of us looking at a March being the third month of the year, we can retrain ourselves the way we think, okay, this is the first, but the moon days, I, maybe rephrase your question, rephrase it. That's not what the question is. Rephrase it, because I'm not understanding it. Hold on, let me read the 14th verse. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. Okay, rephrase your question for me, Anita, because I'm still real tired. Okay, while you rephrasing it, let me just keep reading so we can move along, and I'll come back. Okay. Neither shall it matter Neither shall it matter or not whether the months overlap a New Year's Day, as they are created and moved by the Almighty, even so shall man compute and register them. For example, a New Year's Day may come upon the 20th day of the 12th month, or on another moon's day. Still, as they fall, so shall they be numbered in truth. As the moon's time differeth to different continents, so shall the months' times of the inhabitants of different continents be locally unto them. But in the intercourse between different nations on different continents, the month times shall not be enumerated, but in all such cases, the year and the days thereof shall be named, as, for example, the 70th year and the 96th day. And it shall come to pass that the Sabbath days all around the world shall be the same day unto all people, even with the travel of the sun, whereby Jehovah's heavenly kingdoms shall be in concert with mortals as to times and seasons in all things. Okay, read 13 and 14. 13 and 14. Okay. Go back up. The seventh day of the new year shall be thy next Sabbath day, and it shall be a day of rest and of spiritual communion and praise to Jehovah and his creations with singing and oratory. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. I still need a little bit more help. Okay, what's the question? Like rephrase the question, because I'm really not understanding. Y'all gotta help a sister out this morning. I told y'all how hard it was how hard it was for me this morning. Okay. As it states in 14, the Sabbath has to do with the new year, and is the moon days the same? I'm live, Tiffany. No, it's not a recorded live. I'm actually live. Y'all gonna, if y'all don't rephrase it, I'm kind of stuck right now because I'm not getting it. Or somebody understand what Anita is asking. Please answer. That way I can read it and maybe it'll click for me. Right? Are the moon days? Oh, thank you, Ima. Are the moon day? Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes, the moon days, the holy days of the moon, are the same as the Sabbath days, and I forget exactly where back here, but it talks about it in a couple places. Um, yeah, I forget. I would have to go look unless somebody knows. Um, Tiff, I saw your message. Copy and paste it over here on Facebook. I mean on because I'm not gonna be able to read that. I don't think. Hold on, let me see. She was just explaining it. Oh, hold on. Okay. Let me mute that. Okay. She said, okay, in 13 it states that the Sabbath is calculated from the new year. So it sounds like the Sabbath should continue from there and not change each month. Sounds like the Sabbath. Let me go back and read it. Okay. I'm gonna have to go back further than that. I get what you're saying. Hold on. Let's just go back, y'all. Verse 11. Tay said, for which reason the old year's day shall be named the most holy Sabbath day. Behold, it is in accord with his heavenly kingdoms, and it shall be with thee a day of spiritual communion and of praise to Jehovah and his creations, with music and oratory and ceremonies and processions for thy youth, orderly and well disciplined. And on the New Year's day thou shalt rejoice and sing and dance, mingling together old and young, even as the old year and the new year are joined together side by side. The seventh day of the new year shall be thy next Sabbath day, and it shall, hold on, I think it's trying to click together. Hold on. The seventh day of the new year shall be thy next Sabbath day, and it shall be a day of rest and of spiritual communion and praise to Jehovah and his creations with singing and oratory. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and 1 for rest and worship. For this hath been proven in all the world to be good for man. These then shall be the moon's days, months. The first new moon's day after the New Year's day shall be the beginning of the first month. Verse 17. The first new moon's day after New Year's Day shall be the beginning of the first month, and the completion of the fourth quarter of the moon shall be the completion of the first month, and it shall be named first month. The next 4 quarters of the moon shall be the second month, and it shall be named the second month. So remember, each quarter of the moon is a Sabbath day, right? So I'm just trying to keep all this together. The first new moon's day after the new year shall be the beginning of the first month, and the completion of the fourth quarter of the moon shall be the completion of the first month, and it shall be named first month. The next 4 quarters of the moon shall be the second month, and it shall be named second month. And the next completed 4 quarters of the moon shall be named third month, and so on to the completion of the year. Such then shall be the months in any and every year. Such then shall be the months in any and every year, for these are the moon's times as Jehovah created them. Neither shall it matter or not whether the months overlap a New Year's day, as they are created and moved by the Almighty. I think that's one of the key points here about it overlapping the New Year's Day, right? We got to account for this. And we also have to account for being actually able to see. It reads like the Sabbath and the moon days are not the same. Hold on, let me go back up. Are the moon days and the Sabbaths the same? To me, right now, it is, but I could be wrong. Hold on. That's why I'm trying to go back and make sure I'm understanding this right. Some poetic, first of all, poetically, 86, shalom. Some people believe the Sabbath is solar based, other feels it is lunar based. I know a YouTuber who also counts the Sabbath from the new year and keeps it the same day the whole year. Now, I know this, like, I think that's wrong, because think about your birthdays, at least how I'm understanding from my own personal tracking. So you know how December 25th is always the same day of the year, December 25th, every year. But every year, December 25th is on a different day. Like Christmas could be on a Monday this year, next year to be on a Tuesday. The next year it'll jump to Thursday. Like we see the cycling of the moon. If we observing it, it seems to jump around throughout the week. I think it's the same thing. We got to be able to look at all of that and merge it together. And Tiffany said it does read like the Sabbath and the moon days are not the same. I'm just gonna have to look into it a little bit more because I'm not 100% sure. You asked a good question. His Sabbaths shift annually. So I seen a couple people do that. So like his Sabbaths will be all the same for 1 year. Say there'll be Friday for 2022. The next year they're gonna shift, and all the Sabbaths are going to be on Monday. So he keeps them the same every year for the whole year, like lump them all together, right? That's what you're saying poetically. I think that's what you're saying. His Sabbaths shift annually. But if yes, okay. So I've seen people do that too. And that, to me, that's just from my personal observation. I think I get what they're doing, but if you track it daily and remember, you have to account, I'll reread it again. We have to account for the transition days of the moon, right? So if you go to the book of Enoch, right? The book of Enoch, in the book of Luminaries, Enoch chapters 72 to chapters 82. That's considered the book of Luminaries, right? But it gets into how I could see that you could do that if the moon didn't take her own path a couple different months out of the year, right? Then it will line up. But it goes into talking about, and it even says, this is where man goes wrong with calculating the time, because they don't account for the transition, the dark days, which are considered new moons. Think about the different the differences people have with calling out the new moon, right? So some people call the new moon when it's completely black, and technically they're correct, because when she is completely without light in her disk, she is considered a new moon. But you can't call a new moon if you can't see it. But some people still call it when it's dark, right? So, but when you call it when it's dark, how do you differentiate which day you're calling the dark moon on? Is it the first transition day, or is it the second transition day, or is it one of the longer ones? Is it the third one? Because then you start, if you call it on the second day, that means your count is going to be different from calculating a year if you would call it on the first or the third transition day. You see what I mean? So all of that has to be accounted, which is why, in order to get the count right, to count the Sabbath, wait till you see it. That's what it has to be confirmed from land to land, from where you live, right? So I'm keeping all of that into account just to make sure this is, it's like it's like getting to the equation part of the math, right? So you have to remember all of these factors, even when you have like the multiplication, subtraction, addition. If you have a big math equation and you have all the different types of math in this one equation, there's a certain order to the equation. Now it's called order of operations. So even with calculating this, there's an order of operations. We have to consider all of it. Hold on. Angela, hey sis. I think because we're on a solar calendar, it messes up our tracking. We have different days and different months. Yeah. Tikva, why can't the moon days be holy and not be a Sabbath from a spiritual point of view? Well, that's a good question. Why can't the moon days be holy and not be a Sabbath? I never thought about that. But I don't know, from a spiritual standpoint, you can make every day holy if you want to, right? But from a calculation point, yeah, the Sabbath is holy. I guess the question is the weekly Sabbath solar based and the feast days moon based? Don't get me lying to y'all, right? Okay, so let me just from how I'm still learning. I'm just like still at the beginning. Maybe I'm not sure if Selah here, but he does a lot of this, and he's been tracking way longer than I have, for like almost 20 years. He been tracking, so I'm still trying to get some of these pieces to the. I'm still trying to learn the order of operation. So I'm definitely gonna have a better understanding in a year. So everything that I'm saying today, we probably need to set on fire. I don't know. I'm still holding the matches. If I need to set on fire something, I said I'll come back, be like, yo, I was wrong. Let's correct this. That's just the way I am. So I don't know. So yeah, we've been down this road with Selah. Um, that's why I like these scenes calendar because it's easy. And I haven't looked at these scenes calendar. I'm just now starting to get into the Essenes gospel, going through it and everything and reading. It's gonna take me a while to get there. But what I do know is right, according to what we know, and even what this teaches in OAHSPE, right? As you know better, you do better, right? So if we're doing it wrong now, there's still grace from the Father for us because we're learning, right? We should be. He wants us to think for ourselves. Okay, that's good. Did you consider this? And he'll be like, you ain't doing the Sabbath right, angels. Don't even go near them because I'm ready to kill them all. And people would want you to believe that if you don't do it just right and perfectly, you know that the Father's just going to dismiss you altogether, take all the blessings from your life and take your breath and send you to hang out in Hada forever how long because you couldn't seem to get the Sabbath right? Some people really believe that like the Father is he do you do that to your children when they're learning and when they're growing? We're like in that same predicament. Not predicament, that's the wrong way to look at it. We're growing just like children grow, right? They're observing, they're testing things with their hands, they're getting stuff wrong until they don't anymore. And then they get it right and they get a hold to it. That's exactly like what we're doing, right? So I definitely don't have the whole Sabbath piece down with especially all the new information I'm learning. But what I do know is that I'm practicing the truth according to my highest light at this point, or my highest knowledge of all the information I have. And y'all have some good questions that I ain't even looked at yet. So I still gotta get into all of that and add all that to my learning and test things and track and so but yeah, I'm sure we're gonna turn this corner again up the road a little bit with more information to add to it. Yeah, so I'll go back. Let me just oh yeah. We have 43 minutes. All right, let's do this. Let's read the whole chapter again, right? Yeah, Tinkler. I say keep every day holy. You can't go wrong with that. And you can choose to do that. And every day should be holy. Wake up. Father, thank you for this breath of life. Ha, that's what they call a ha, aloha. At the end of ha, it's the breath of life, the breath from the creator. The island people here, the way that they look at the creator and life, I'm like, yo, they say that in OAHSPE. I'm like, yo, this is what OAHSPE is teaching us. It's like they live that even in the culture. That's why I say if y'all come here, you absolutely must go to the Polynesian Cultural Center. It brings the islands together and their beliefs and their culture and stuff. And even listen, when you got somebody telling your story and they're not actually a part of it, and they don't actually engross themselves in the neighborhood. Like some people can go tell your family story, but they don't know like the little inside jokes that family members got going on and the different beefs and how we deal with it. But somebody, it's like learning about the different cultures and even like with their gods and they worship this and they worship that. What I'm understanding now by being here and actually listening to the native people, just like Hawaii, pronouncing Hawaii, that is wrong. It's not pronounced Hawaii, it's pronounced Hawaii, right? And I'm like, You know what? I used to hear people say Hawaii, but I'm thinking they might have a lisp or something. They don't know how to pronounce it, the wa right. And I'm thinking they were wrong when we were wrong all the time. Like the natives, you can tell, like the natives from the people who was like being taught still don't know how to pronounce it right. And I'm famous for that. I'm like, Hawaii, Hawaii. Don't that look foolish? Me, an outsider, coming trying to teach the natives how to pronounce their words based on what I read in the book and how I heard my teacher pronounce it because they didn't got it wrong too. And I'm just like, oh, we got so much to learn. I'm like, wow, forgive me. It's pronounced um, Hawaii, right? And some people say Hawaii like it's one word, and it's not. When you come, you will see there's an apostrophe that breaks up the two I's, like Hawaii, right? It's Hawai apostrophe I, and they enunciate it here. Like we talk to like the native local people, even from the different islands. And if you watch that video where when I said, and I'm gonna post it here on YouTube, the guy, the Samoan people, they are beautiful. Samoan people are beautiful and they are absolutely hilarious. We've met a lot of Samoan people here and just talking to them, and all of them seem to have this sense of humor. But he gives you a little bit of history on the language and even them in Samoa, and even how they have like the not wars, but how they're like brothers and sisters. But you go down uh, uh, a few miles or whatever, they're pronouncing the same thing different. And he gave a couple examples of even the words that we use. I'm like, yo, they do sound like our word. Like he said, it's like we all saying the same thing. We just have different pronunciations for it. But that video was really good, right? It's probably about 7 minutes long, but watch that. He's funny. That's the one I said. The Samoan people are hilarious. Watch that. Not only was it funny, it was very, very educational. And I'm just the way I'm like looking at people, the way they relate to one another. You know how from America we looking at people like, oh, they white, they black, or they Chinese or whatever. Here you get to feel that it's and it clearly it's not about race. It's more about the cultures, because it's different people from different places, some being born native, some coming from different places, maybe marrying with the natives, and they produce offspring, and then they're born and raised in this land, and that's all they know. It's really more about culture and not like color of the skin. So when they say Samoan, well, we can clearly tell native born Samoans, right? But it's more like a cultural thing. That's how they deal with everything. And then it's like no racism when you deal with it from like the cultural standpoint. It's like it's just y'all just have to experience. I'm sure this is not the only place where they do that, but this is like the first place we've been where we've actually been able to like, well, I'm like not on duty, working or something. We actually being able to mingle with the locals and learn about them and just listen to the stories and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm in awe at how y'all tell some of these stories, because I'm like, I want to be one of the greatest storytellers ever, which is why I love history and listening to people and talking to people. And it's just uh, it's great. Hold on, let me go back up. Beautiful butterfly April's journey. Shalom, shalom. Yes, whoever got their scenes calendar, please share. I think that was, who was that? Ema or Set Apart Living TV. If you got a share a link or something for everybody. Take for yes, thank you. Your reading each day helps make each day a step towards keeping each day like a Sabbath. I think because these people are so close to the area near the sinking of Pan. Yeah, and they have way more information. Like some of the stuff they done taught us in textbooks that we got in America. I was like, you know what? Where my matches at? This needs to be taken out the curriculum, because you're teaching this not even from the proper understanding of the natives who actually live here. Like I'm just saying, y'all, this is amazing. Okay, so let's do this. Let me go back. Let me reread this about the Sabbath. Should I reread it? Like y'all want to just let me just ask y'all. Y'all want to reread chapter 14? The first answer wins, so y'all better answer quick. Y'all want me to reread chapter 14 over the Sabbath stuff again and just move to chapter 15? Oh, I think Ray said yes. Okay. Ray, let's read it again. Okay. Page 708. Okay. Yes, everybody. Okay. Chapter 14, or chapter XIV, in Book of Inspiration. These are Tay's revelations of Jehovah's times and seasons appointed unto the chosen. The shortest day on the northern line of the sun shall be the end of the year, and shall be called Old Year's Day, saith Jehovah. And the first day thereafter, when the sun on his southern course starteth towards the north, shall be the beginning of the year, and shall be called New Year's Day. These are my times of the end and beginning of a year, which I created, and I made the earth and the sun as my written testimony thereof. And I blessed and sanctified the old year's day and the new year's day, and I appointed them to be holy days, that men might remember the order and the system of my works. Order of operations. I didn't catch that. I mean, I read it, but. And I said unto man, from one New Year's Day unto the succeeding one shall be called 1 year, for it is one completed oscillation of the earth and of her revolution in the orbit where I placed her. Therefore, what thou hast completed within a year shall be remembered by thee, that thou mayest judge thyself therein. And on the old year's day, thou shalt render up in full forgiveness in all things against all people. And when the setting of the sun on that day, thou shalt be purged of all animosity and claims against every man, woman, and child in all the world. And thou shalt make acknowledgement of this in words and songs and prayers, and in tokens of no intrinsic value, to whomsoever thou shalt have offended during the past year. Tay said, for which reason the old year's day shall be named the most holy day. Behold, it is in accord with his heavenly kingdoms, and it shall be with thee a day of spiritual communion and of praise to Jehovah in his creations, with music and oratory and ceremonies and processions for thy youth, orderly and well disciplined. And on the New Year's day thou shalt rejoice and sing and dance, mingling together old and young, even as the old year and the new year are joined together side by side. The seventh day of the new year shall be thy next Sabbath day, and it shall be a day of rest and of spiritual communion and praise to Jehovah and his creations with singing and oratory. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. For this hath been proven in all the world to be good for man. These then shall be the moon's days, months. The first new moon's day after New Year's Day shall be the beginning of the first. Hold on, wait. The first new moon's day after the New Year's Day shall be the beginning. That I just thought about something. The well, yeah, they mentioned it's the solstices, right? And even the calculate, yeah, that has to do with the solstices. Okay, let me just keep reading. So also shall every seventh day be a Sabbath day, for which reason 7 days shall be 1 week, being 6 days for labor and one for rest and worship. For this hath been proven in all the world to be good for man. These then shall be the moon's days, months. The first new moon's day after New Year's Day shall be the beginning of the first month, and the completion of the fourth quarter of the moon shall be the completion of the first month, and it shall be named the first month. So also keep in mind here, I just thought about something else, where it says the first new moon's day after New Year's Day shall be the beginning of the first month. Remember, the new moon day may not be directly after New Year's Day. Set apart said, and the first Sabbath, hold on. I missed. I gotta go back up. Yeah, definitely. It has something to do with the solstices too. We have to keep the solstices in the equation. When the new year begins, it should be like 3 Sabbath within the first week. when I check, the shortest day of the year is in December. That will make New Year's Day in the winter. That's what Vanette said. And the first Sabbath will fall on the moon day. I just checked. You gotta, yeah, you gotta like write it down. Like, I'm gonna have to like writing it down and drawing out the cycles and stuff and calculating. It's like you gotta put like a solstice in there. Like all of that has to be accounted. Like we gotta like graphic. At least that's what I'm thinking. The graphic to get it just right. Because remember, try not to, when we're doing it, try not to look at the Gregorian day calendar days like we look at it, because it'll tend to throw us off, right? Remember, it's going to keep moving along, right? Along the days. So that's my point I was making earlier about Christmas, the day and the date, right? It's going to keep moving along, right? So um sometimes I notice, and I need to double check when they, and I think they do this with the solstice as well. I think, I could be wrong, but how I'm thinking is they, with the spring and the winter solstice, they, it's not necessarily on the same day, but they always have it like right um right at like the same time period within like a couple days of it happening. And it's probably, I don't know if it's harder for us here because it's like, I think it's, I think it's hard because we may not be using all the information we need, right? We're, because we have a winter, right? Because all places don't have a winter. So you have to look at how they calculate it as well, right? Um, so say like in parts of Africa where they're calculating it, where they don't have a winter, how are they calculating it throughout the year? So I think if we look at how each landmass calculates it and what's considered their summer solstice, and look at all of it, we'll find like the basis of everything, and we'll be able to begin to calculate. And it'll probably kind of be like what they do with the time zones and how things change, because it depends on what hemisphere and how close to the equator and all these things, just to make sure we're taking in all these pieces. Yeah, I think what she said, it's hard because these people stole our land and culture. That's a big part of it too. And a lot of stuff wasn't passed down, especially to the Onguis here in Guatemala, right? Talking animals. But I had so, while looking at all this stuff, I think about so much what I've learned through here and just observing things from the different cultures and the whole Ongui talking animals and stuff, like what they call people here, the human beings. It's just another name for humans, right? We're animals with intellect, right? So just looking at some of the animals, like with their paws and palms and feet and walking, just different things. And if you don't wear shoes for a while, the bottom of your feet will become acclimated to the land where you're living at. And that's how some people can be barefoot and naked in their land and it don't bother them. It's like, bro, where your shoes at? Right? I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff. I'm gonna stop trying to explain this at this point because I'm sure I'm gonna screw it up, right? Um, but all of those are pieces of the puzzle. It has to be included in here to get this right. And it might still take some time. Some people may have it down, right? That's why, because that, listen, that's like cannibalism, right? Because we are animals too. Like we're mammals, just like other and some other animals are considered mammals, right? I'm just like, yo, it's, I don't know, it just, I don't know. The days are just getting better. Yeah, so the solar calendar isn't off. Exactly, the Gregorian calendar is off. I agree with that. Is the Essenes calendar the same as the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar? I'm not sure, but based on some of the information uh, I've gotten, I think that can be an assumption, but I don't know. There's a book that I'm listening to. I haven't listened to it since I've been on vacation. And it gets into the it seems. It's not the Essenes. I thought it was the Audible Essenes Bible, but I'm glad I downloaded it and listened to it. It's I think it's called Jesus and the Essenes, right? But in it is interesting because the book is sort of kind of like Susan Martinez's book, uh the spiritual guide to like the world, whatever, where she have all these different interviews of different people and people who had been possessed by spirits and everything. So what happens in this book, just a quick summary of it, um a woman was interviewing, and this is like the 1800s 1900s, and she was interviewing different people who had uh maybe they were possessed, oppressed, but entities, other, they will sometimes get put in a sunken place, and the entities or people who have already lost their flesh, they would begin to speak to them. So she started asking questions. So she was interviewing all these different spirits that inhabited this person's body, and it started talking about like the different cultures and stuff back in the day, and where this spirit was from and what time that they lived in during their time on the earth. Right? I was like, oh, this is interesting, because at first I was gonna cut it off because it started talking a little bit about like reincarnation and stuff, and I'm glad I didn't cut it off, because um it started explaining what was happening to where I was just kind of halfless. I was like, oh, this is garbage. And I was about to toss it, but then I was like, let me just keep listening. Let me listen to it all the way through and weigh all the information together, which I'm glad I did it, because in the next chapter she started really getting into the different spirits began to change, and it began to talk about, well, I'm from this era. And so what she was trying to do, she was trying to filter through the spirits to get to one who lived during the time where Jesus lived. And so she had noticed with all the different spirits she'd interviewed that was coming through this lady's body, nobody had mentioned anything about a Jesus, because she's still trying to figure out, was this a real character or was he made up? Is this an allegory? And all of this stuff, until she came up across one particular spirit, and he began to talk about the culture and what they did and why they lived in caves, and it was in Qumran, and even the Dead Sea Scrolls. I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So I haven't yet looked into the author of it, but some of the stuff that I have learned about Qumran and the caves, inside of Qumran, there were actually cities, whole families, communities living in Qumran inside the caves. And they go on to explain how that happened and what they did with the parchments when they wrote scriptures or something holy on them, how they would preserve it, and even why some of that stuff was still left there. Because remember, the Essenes were those who were still keeping to like the true worship of the one and only creator, worshiping Jehovah or Yah, the only creator only, right? And their rules or their community was different. Like even with these scenes, the women were treated fairly just like the men, to where as you get into the Christian Bible, it's like women are less than, but it wasn't like that with the Essenes. Everybody was like this even level. You could have women leaders just like you had men leaders, and he began to explain some of that and why some of the caves were abandoned, because they were like on the run a lot of times from those who were seeking to kill them, because those who were seeking to kill them in that political day, they wanted the religions, chop them up, everybody worship together. If you want to worship this, you can worship that. You want to worship this, you can worship that too. We all come together, we can worship our multiple gods and all of this stuff. But the ones that just they don't want any of this, those are the enemies, right? So when they found these things, they would kill them. So the book was really interesting as it gave some insights to this, but just be aware that this is an entity speaking through a woman that he's put in a sunken place, so to speak, to actually tell what happened. So when you listen to it, I'm not done listening to it yet. So if you want to get it or whatever, and I'll leave the name of that book too. You just weigh the information of what's being said, but some of the things that's in there, and some of the things I found to be true, I was like, okay, well, that's true. From what I verified that it's real interesting to add to your collection of research material. Hannah, you have that book but haven't gotten into it. Yeah, Cosmon. Dreadful Cosmine, bless up. All right, y'all. So let me finish reading this. Where we at? We already at an hour. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna finish this today, and we're gonna end. We're not gonna start. Hold on. We're not gonna start Book of Jehovah's Kingdom on Earth today, which containeth within it the Book of Shalom. Right. So we'll start that tomorrow. Actually, y'all, tomorrow's not gonna be live. Because I'll be in the air again. I would really like to do this one live with y'all and not pre-recorded. Let me finish reading this. Verse 21. Verse 21. Chapter 14. Neither shall it matter or not whether the months overlap a New Year's day, as they are created and moved by the Almighty. Even so shall man compute and register them. For example, a New Year's day may come upon the 20th day of the 12th moon, or on another moon's day. Still, as they fall, so shall they be numbered in truth. As the moon's time differeth to different continents, so shall the months' times of the inhabitants of different continents be locally unto them. But in the intercourse between different nations on different continents, the month times shall not be enumerated, but in all such cases the year and the days thereof shall be named, as for example, the 70th year and the 96th day. And it shall come to pass that the Sabbath days all around the world shall be the same day unto all people, even with the travel of the sun, whereby Jehovah's heavenly kingdoms shall be in concert with mortals as to times and seasons and all things. So, if because of the rotation of the sun and the moon and the time zones, and with it being light on one side and dark on this side, if everybody observed it they according to the time zone and the land that they live in, when you do it according to that and not living in America trying to do it on Jerusalem or Israel's time, when you do it according to America's time for the time zone you're at, right? Only for where you live. If you keep to it that way, if everybody does that where they are, we would all be celebrating the Sabbath on the same exact time, just like this live, right? I had to adjust my time over here to be on the same time that we normally are at home. So back at home, I'm not in the land of Virginia. I'm in the land of Hawaii, right? I'm in the land of Hawaii. But in Hawaii, Virginia's time is 1:15 in the morning, or 7 or 1:30 on the weekends, right? But in Virginia's time, that's 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on the weekends, 7:30 a.m. Sabbath is the same way. Observe it according to the landmass where you live and not according to somebody else. Because if I'm here in Hawaii and I do this at 7:15 or 7:30 Hawaii time, I'm gonna miss y'all. Y'all gonna miss me. It's never gonna sync up. We will never come together because we're a whole 6 hours behind my homeland, right? So that's how I understand this now. So all of those who are living in America in different places, if you're watching this, if you're calculating the Sabbath, you're celebrating it when Israel, so you follow channels where they sell, okay, and they got the Israel clock going, you are wrong every single time, right? So, and I know they did away with the daylight savings time. Just keep to the time zone time where you are, because keeping to that, we're all doing it at the same time, right? All right. And we will be in, let's say, as whereby, listen, verse 27, and it shall come to pass that the Sabbath days all around the world shall be the same day unto all people, even with the travel of the sun, right? Whereby Jehovah's heavenly kingdom shall be in concert with mortals as to times and seasons in all things. And that's one of the keys as well. So, all right, so let's read this next chapter. The next couple chapters, they are really, really short, and then we'll actually be done with the whole book of inspiration. Chapter 15 or chapter XV on page 709, Holy Holy Compact Day. You right, Cosmon, dreadful Cosmon. Can't go wrong keeping the Creator's time by the luminaries. Right, right. I 100% agree with that. Okay. As Jehovah, through his God, bequeathed to the children of Guatemala a government unfettered by the name of God or Lord or Savior, so Jehovah sanctified the day. So Jehovah sanctified the day of the ratification and the signing and sealing of his compact, and in parentheses after his compact is American Constitution, as the day of the holy seals. Let me read that again without breaking it up like that. As Jehovah, through his God, bequeathed to the children of Guatemala or America, to the children of Guatemala, a government unfettered by the name of God or Lord or Savior, so Jehovah sanctified the day of the ratification and the signing and sealing of his compact, American Constitution, as the day of the Holy Seal. And the sign thereof he made a hand holding a quill, which shall be the master's sign of salutation in the lodge on the day and evening commemorating the same. And Jehovah made the answer to the master's sign the holding up. And in parentheses, it says, by the member of the lodge of a piece of paper signifying the Constitution. Therefore, it was said, the master saluted on the sign, day of the Holy Seal, and the lodge answered in the sign, Constitution. And Jehovah said, remember this day and keep it holy to the end of the world, for hereat was the beginning of the liberty of man. And after man, it's reference letter B. Go to page 711. And B says, the Constitution was signed on September 17th, 1787, but it passed out of theory into law on June 21st, 1788, when New Hampshire, the ninth state, ratified it. It needed the ratification of 9 states. Ratification indicated reality and fact. Consequently, June 21st might be the preferred holiday depending on preferred interpretation. A similar ambiguity exists with Freedom's Day, chapter XVII, which is what, 25, 26, 27. Freedom's Day, chapter 27, while the Emancipation Proclamation declared freedom to all slaves in 10 Confederate states and was signed on January 1st, 1863, it did not end slavery under the law. The abolition of slavery, in fact, did not occur until the passage of the 13th Amendment. That amendment was passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, and finally ratified by the states on December the 6th, 1865, thus putting an end to legal slavery once and for all. All right, so go back. This starts the next chapter, chapter 16 or chapter XVI. What I say? I'm getting them wrong. Hold on. Check for chapter 17, not 27. What did I say? 17? I thought that's what I said. I probably didn't. Yeah, XVII is 17. Yeah, X is 10, V is 5, and the singles is the 1. So when you add them up, 17. Right, that's in the second paragraph of the B reference. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, chapter 16 or chapter XVI, and the subtitle under 16 is S Day, ES Day, DAY, and it has reference number 22, and 22 at the bottom says Holy Veil Day, VAIL, Holy Veil Day. Okay, and this is only 6 verses. As Jehovah, through his God, pulled aside the veil of heaven, veil, VEIL. As Jehovah, through his God, pulled aside the veil of heaven, saying, let my angels forth. Together shall converse the living and the dead. So sanctified he the day when the angels of heaven were made known to mortals, March 31st, 1848. And it has reference 23 after it. And 23 at the bottom says, the following two verses, 4 and 5, were deleted from the 1891 edition, but were included as a footnote at the end of the book. Okay. Verse 4, Jehovah gave the sign, a hand holding aside a veil, signifying heaven unveiled, as the master's sign in the lodge on the day and evening commemorating the same. And after Jehovah at the beginning of verse 4 is reference number 25, and 25 just says Jehovah. It's just bold. There's no difference in the spelling. Okay. Verse 5. And he gave to the members of the lodge an answer to anthem. Let me start over. And he gave to the members of the lodge to answer the sign 3 clappings, signifying endless joy. And at the beginning of verse 5, after he is reference number 25. 25 at the bottom also says, I'm sorry, y'all. I messed it up. 24 for Jehovah is he. 25, he is Jehovah. They just switch it around. It's the same thing, but they switched it. Okay. Verse 5. And he gave to the members of the lodge to answer the sign 3 clappings, signifying endless joy. And Jehovah said, excuse me, and Jehovah said, remember this day and keep it holy to the end of the world. For without books and without arguments, behold, I have proven unto you the continued life of the soul of man. And after continued life, after life is reference number 26. And 26 at the bottom says, the immortality of the soul. All right, next chapter, chapter 17, chapter XVII. The subtitle is Freedom's Day. And after Freedom's Day is reference number 27. And 27 says, the Fallen Swords Day. Okay. For instance, I ordered the book, but it's probably at the house now. The book Timetable of Prophecy. He said, Brother Selah has a book called The Timetable of Prophecy. Spot on. I haven't read it yet because it didn't come before we left here, but I'm excited to read it and go through and check and test the information. Okay. Freedom's Day. Verse 1, page 709. As Jehovah, through his God, delivered into freedom Guatema's slaves, and thus to general slavery dealt the final blow, so Jehovah blessed that day and sanctified it. And after sanctified it, it has reference number 28. And 28 at the bottom says, the following 2 verses, 2 and 3, were deleted from the 1891 edition, but were included as a footnote at the end of the book. Verse 2, and Jehovah, and after Jehovah is reference number 29. 29 says he for Jehovah. Okay. And Jehovah gave to man as the master's sign in the lodge a hand pointing toward a pen, signifying, I have proved this mightier than the sword. The hand is mightier than the sword. The pen is mightier than the sword. Y'all ever heard that in school? Somebody done read OAHSPE in school, but they ain't tell y'all where they getting they cool sayings from. Let me read that again. And Jehovah gave to man as the master's sign in the lodge a hand pointing toward a pen, signifying, I have proved this mightier than a sword, right? Pointing to the pen, this is a sign. The pen is mightier than a sword, right? That's still true today. And he, And after he is reference number 30, and 30 at the bottom says Jehovah. So they're interchanging he with Jehovah, right? Okay. And he gave to the members in the lodge to answer in the sign, clasp hands and looking upward, signifying, in thy praise, Jehovah. Jehovah said, remember the day of proclamation of freedom, for it is my day which I bequeath unto you as a day of freedom and all righteous jollification, which ye shall keep every year and commemorate unto the end of the world. All right, last chapter for Book of Inspiration, chapter 18, and it's Holy Cosmon Day. And after Holy Cosmon Day, it's reference letter C. And chapter 18 in Roman numerals is XVIII. So go to page 711 for C. And this is pretty long. This is C. All of this is C. Very last footnote, and it's like a whole chapter itself. So before we even get started reading this, let's read this footnote on page 711. C. This date, Holy Cosmon Day, this date relates to an event that has not yet occurred, at least at the time of the publication of this edition of OAHSPE. It remains within the province of some future generation. When the new dispensation prophesied in the book of Shalom does not come to pass, conditions, hold on. When the new dispensation prophesied in the book of Shalom does come to pass, conditions will become suitable for the resurgence of Suis and Sargis among its inhabitants. That's good. So remember how when we talked about what some people were saying, how they looking at John Numero, right? They said, oh, well, he did this. What was his little city called? The city of Shalom. They started trying to discredit it. But if we read and we understand, we know that he got ahead of the Creator, trying to bring something to pass where the conditions are not right for this thing yet, right? Because think about it, in the 1800s, there are still some things that hadn't developed yet. Even with like the cleanliness and stuff of people and just different things and the development of different trades and understanding how the body really works and how it thrives on a plant-based diet. All of this stuff, it hadn't come to its fruition yet, which is why the city of Shalom could not be fulfilled. They were able to, I ain't gonna say fulfilled, they were able to get some portions of that community of Shalom going like they did, but eventually it failed because they were getting ahead of the Creator, not realizing the other pieces and the generations that had to be born with the different gifts that they had to add to all of this, right? All right, so listen. This date relates to an event that has not yet occurred, at least at the time of the publication of this edition of OAHSPE. It remains within the province of some future generation. When the new dispensation prophesied in the book of Shalom does come to pass, conditions will become suitable for the resurgence of Suis and Sargis among its inhabitants. Remember what Suis and Sargis is? Everybody here probably um, uh, this being those who are able to like see clearly, like prophesy and see clearly, not just stuff being downloaded to you, but they have literally been trained and a lot. They are born from the womb with the gifts of being able to see and hear, and they're able to do things. They can materialize and dematerialize their body, like all of these things. Like we see different in some different religions, like we see JC walking through walls and stuff, and that's a part of some of this. But they just pull out bits and pieces of stuff and just kind of lump it all together and give you one story without giving you the full history and development of things over time. And what we think things like it's the same thing. Like, okay, 7 days the earth was created in 7 literal days. Well, we know that's foolery at its best, right? They've taken thousands and thousands and millions of years and just lumped everything into day one, day two, day three. When you look at it and actually do real research, you'll realize that this wasn't like a day like we understand a day. This was a whole period of time, right? And the days were actually ages and phases of the earth, right? Angela said, verse 4, and Jehovah said, remember this day and keep it holy. Oh, I finished reading that already. We're in the next chapter. 1800 Indian Wars, Native Schools. Tigler said, y'all see all these holidays we have now and some closeness to what we should be celebrating to the end of the world. They forever stealing and repurpose the creators. They always repurpose in the father's times and stuff, right? Like they creating stuff. That's why y'all look, that's why y'all gotta travel. That's why y'all really have to travel and get out there and mingle with the natives. Not just going to the tourist spots. The tourist spots is what they create, what they want you to believe this whole place is about. Actually get out there and mingle. Take them country drives and them island drives and the places. Oh, don't go over there. That's what all the natives at. Just stay over here what we built nice and pretty. No. Go in, I mean, be smart, right? Don't go out there and get yourself killed, right? But be smart about it. But if you can, right, and don't go by yourself. I mean, get just learn about your brethren and your sister and all around the world. And some of these things you can see, they still trying to narrate the stories how they want to, and we miss pieces of the truth by constantly listening to that, by not having that lab time, so to speak, right? You get that all that book knowledge and stuff, but you don't actually have lab to say, okay, something's wrong with this manual because that's not working. Either it was somebody wrote this wrong, or they didn't think about this and include this and that. We find out the same thing in the furniture industry with the manuals and stuff. You got people that's sitting behind the desk all the time, trying to tell people out in the field, well, the manual says this. Well, I'm telling you, by being here out in the field, this doesn't work like this. So their understanding of the manual is different from the understanding of what the workers in the actual field actually have. Um, so yeah, this is it's amazing. But yeah, the what they tried to do, it wasn't right for Shalom to come to pass yet, right? We're getting closer to it, but we're still not there. Mariah, shalom, shalom. You working on moving toward Japan? Oh man, it's gonna be awesome. I know I got some family members and some friends that's lived over there for a little while. Hopefully by next year I can leave to South Korea and then see Japan. I also want to go to Scotland and Ireland. Travel, do it, and come back and share with us, right? Take pictures, post it on your social media, all that stuff. Help us learn, right? Okay. Let me finish reading this footnote, y'all. This reference. Okay, let me just start over. C, or Holy Day of Cosma, Holy Cosma Day. This date relates to an event that has not yet occurred, at least at the time of the publication of this edition of OAHSPE. It remains within a province of some future generation. When the new dispensation prophesied in the book of Shalom does come to pass, conditions will become suitable for the resurgence of Suis and Sargis among its inhabitants. The difference being that a second resurrection community on earth will become amenable to inspiration from the second resurrection heavens above, which we are there now, right? Because we can hear directly from the second heaven, not just the Lord shenaniganizing first heaven, right? But we get light, and whatever light you're getting, you want to make sure it's coming from second heaven or above. Seriously, just keep it simple like that. Anything coming from the first, you in danger. You might be in danger. I'm gonna just say, forego that first, go to the second. The difference being that a second resurrection community on earth will become amenable to inspiration from the second resurrection heavens above. Such advanced communion will require set times and locations when the advanced angelic realms will formally meet with their mortal counterparts on earth. These exclusive reunions, of course, would only be known to those who become part of that new dispensation yet to be realized. Just like that we see that like on a real tiny minute level, right? Say if you have set prayer times, right? And if you're consistent with that, if you are, here's what, okay, say you got a prayer closet, and y'all done probably learned this. you you probably learned it in church, right? Go into your prayer closet and God will meet you there. Well, technically, there is some truth to that, right? Because if you develop your prayer life and a relationship with the Father, talking back and forth. We know we have our stars, angels helping us, and it's probably them that's passing the answers down. But we don't talk to them, because if you talk directly to them, not that you can't, you can, right? But if you get into the habit of talking to them and the different ones that are around you, it will tend to pull you away from talking directly to the Father. So as the process goes, just always talk to the Father directly. They'll not translate, they get the message to him, and he'll respond to us, and they'll give it, and they'll give the message to us, right? At least that's how I'm understanding it now. And sometimes you will hear directly from the Father, right? But what happens is, if there's a set time where you go into your prayer closet or anywhere, everybody knows this is our meeting time, this when I show up. And if you, depending on how consistent and how long you've been doing it, there's actually a residue, a presence of heaven that lingers in that place. And it literally becomes holy, sanctified ground. It really does. Like, if y'all haven't experienced that or haven't even tested that, go test that, right? And then you will get to the point where you'll be craving at times, like, yo, I'm coming. I know you're there waiting for me. And it's like that space set aside, sacred, alone. It's like when you get in there, it's just it just picks right back up where it left off at, right? So just keep that in mind. Listen. Such advanced communion will require set times and locations when the advanced angelic realms would formally meet with their mortal counterparts on earth. These exclusive reunions, of course, would only be known to those who become part of that new dispensation yet to be realized. It may also be helpful to point out that a transformation of such magnitude may actually evolve in stages over a protracted time frame, considering that Cosmon endures for a longer cyclic period than some people may realize. The common used term Cosmon era is actually a generic reference to a period of time with common distinctive characteristics unique to itself, e.g., the industrial era. But within the context of OAHSPE, an era has a completely different mathematical meaning that could lead one to misinterpret Cosmon's actual time span. An era is a 12,000 year interval consisting of four approximately 3,000 year arcs or cycles called one square. Ashong chapter 2, verse 6. However, Cosmon is actually a 72,000 year time period called a season, which is preceded by two other seasons supporting human life called Cephas and Hak. To be clear on this fact, one must first be cognizant of the number of arc cycles Danhas encompassing humanity's existence. Sathantes arrived at the end of Hak, a period of a time having just completed 24 Danhas, Sathantes chapter 2, verse 29. The period of time following Hak and Cephas, which also consisted of 24. Hold on. The period of time following Hak was Cephas, which also consisted of 24 Danhas. We know this because Sathantes through Neph covered 16 arcs, see synopsis of 16 cycles, followed by 8 more arcs of Av through Lika, see Savorcum fold out, page 484. So both Hak and Cephas had 24 arcs total for each season. That might sound like a bunch of blah, 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 blah. What did you just say? If you ain't been here, you probably need to read that a couple more times and actually go back to them references and look at the Savorcum fold out. Remember the Savorcum fold out. Where is it? Hold on. It's literally a fold out. It folds. Page 484. Go to page 484, and it's the Savorcum fold out, right? And it shows the arc cycles, Af, Su, Apollo, Thor, Osiris, Fragapati, Spencer, Armige, Lika, right? And within this, it also has by their names the cycle or the years, like 3600 years, 3200 years, 2800, 32, 33, 3100, 2400, 3400 years, like all of this stuff and words in here, which is explained beforehand. So you might have to just go back and look over it and study a little bit to understand it when it's talking about the Danhas, Cephas, Hawk, all that stuff, right? So we're gonna read through it again. So hopefully, if you didn't catch it the first time, you will be here in a few weeks when we start it over, right? Okay. So hold on, Sathantes, no. Since an average arc is about 3,000 years in duration and each era is 4 arcs, then 24 arcs would be both 6 eras or 72,000 years. Knowing that Cephas ended with the arrival of Cosmon, and you can see Fragapati chapter 21, verse 24, it becomes clear why on the first page of OAHSPE it says that the seventh era is at hand, or the arrival of Cosmon. Now we know an arrival of Cosmon is the era where we are completely ripe for not just one or two people hearing from the Creator and being called prophets, right? It is the era where multiple people have developed and generations are being born that have their spirits developed enough to where we all can begin to hear and like truth is restored. And it's just an amazing time, and we're just at the beginning of this, right? And even after we are dead and gone, there's still going to be multiple generations after us coming towards the ending part of the Cosmon cycle, and they're going to be way more advanced, right? They're literally, like I said before, they're going to be born like superhero stage, coming out the womb, being able to do things supernatural, just because that's the way humanity has developed over time, right? Now we know that humanity first came forth during the darkness of Hak at the end of the Samoan age. We also know that Cephas was the period of earthly dominions. As explained above, both of these periods were 72,000 years in length. Quoting Fragapati, chapter 24, XXIV, chapter 24, verses 42 through 43, we see, in the first days I blew my breath upon the lands of earth, and man became a living soul, i.e., Hak. Then in the second time I moved my hand upon the earth, and man went forth in power, i.e., Cephas. The time shall surely come, and in the third season, when my voice shall be heard by mortals, i.e., Cosmon. Therefore, just like Hak and Cephas, Cosmon must be the same length of time, namely 72,000 years long, and we see that all three are called seasons. Consequently, Cosmon is not a Danha, not an era, but a 72,000 year time span called a season. And for all of those that think the earth is only 6,000 years old, my G, you is way off. You is way off, because we could not have developed in 6,000 years like we're developed today. It took the land, it took earth to formulate. It took longer than 6,000 years for the earth to formulate, and you know the vegetation and stuff to spring up to become a habitable place, right? Even after the Aji and all that stuff, it had to develop to a place where it was right for where it can now sustain life here, right? That's way longer than 6,000 years, people. Oh, it's in a book. I'm so excited to read it. Anita, thanks. She said it's in a timetables of prophecy that Selah wrote. Okay. Okay, so let's finish up this chapter. So go back to page 710 at verse 1. That was just the subtitle, Holy Cosmon Day. All of that was that. So now the whole chapter is 28 verses, and it's going to be the end of the book. All right. Beside the above, Jehovah gave one more holy day, Cosmon Day, which he also commanded to be kept in commemoration of another matter, which Jehovah commanded to be secret with the faithers for a certain period of time, the which time hath not expired to this day. Excuse me. Therefore, the day of Cosmon is still a secret with the faithists. And Jehovah said that mortals and angels may live and labor in concert. Behold, I have given certain days whereby large congregations on earth may be met by my organic heavens in reunion, mortals and angels, for the happiness of both and for the glory of my works. Now, behold, also, as by my presence I inspire thee, when thou laborest with me, and thou art doing righteously and with purity and love, so also is it with thee in regard to my angels. When thou makest and keepest thy corporal body pure and clean, my angels who are pure and clean come to thee and aid thee and to enlighten thee. And when thou puttest away all unclean thoughts and all selfish desires, and seekest to obtain wisdom and to learn how best thou can help thy fellow man, behold, my angels of light and wisdom come to thee, and by virtue of their presence, which thou seest not, they inspire thy soul in the light of thy Creator. Man hath said, I will not be a seer, nor a prophet, nor a Suis, nor Sargus. Verily, I will not have angels with me to teach me or to give me any light or knowledge under the sun. Whatever I can attain, it shall be mine own. Wiser it is for me to attain to knowledge and to do things for myself and to do things of myself than to have angels come and give it to me or manifest through me. Verily, I will not be used by man nor angel, for it would be prostituting my flesh and my spirit to others. Behold, my body was given to me for mine own use and profit, to establish and develop my own soul unto eternal happiness in individuality. Alike unto all people is my presence, saith Jehovah. I am unto the just and the unjust. I am everywhere, both in darkness and in light. Because thou art in darkness, thou beholdest not me. Because thou art imperfect in flesh and spirit, thou deniest me. Because thou art confounded with inharmony, thou believest not in me. He who hath not an ear for music discovereth not a tune, even as he that is discordant denieth my person. To the pure there is no selfishness, neither for earthly things, nor for their own flesh and spirit. A pure man is as a clear glass. He can see out of himself, and so perceive my angels and me. Through the pure man, angels can see mortality as well as spirituality. Their presence inspireth him to understand all things. As much with the man that is not a seer or a Suis are the angels, as with those that are seers or Suis or Sargus, because thou seest not, nor hearest angels, only proveth thy darkness, but proveth not the absence of angels. To the dark come the dark, with the dark abide the dark, both angels and mortals. More is the man of darkness ruled by angels than is the man of light. That's amazing. Look, it said, listen, you so quick trying not to be ruled by angels and put yourself in a sunken place that you don't realize that you're more ruled by them than the children of light. Listen. Let me read this again. Go back up to 15. To the pure there is no selfishness, neither for earthly things, nor for their own flesh and spirit. A pure man is as a clear glass. He can see out of himself, and so perceive my angels and me. Through the pure man, pure angels can see mortality as well as spirituality. Their presence inspireth him to understand all things. As much with the man that is not a seer or a Suis are the angels, as with those that are seers or Suis or Sargus. Because thou seest not, nor heardest angels, only proveth thy darkness, but proveth not the absence of angels. To the dark come the dark, with the dark abide the dark, both angels and mortals. More is the man of darkness ruled by angels than is the man of light, right? Because the man of darkness, you got the whole first heaven and hotter talking to you, right? And do this, go do that. Yeah, be mad, get back, like all of that stuff. You don't realize you're really being ruled by them more than those who walking in pure spirit and are connected to the second heaven and above. Behold, I created thee not to fill any place in all the world for thine own sake, neither gave I thy flesh nor thy spirit to be thine only. These also shalt thou relinquish, saying to thee, O Jehovah, I give all, my flesh, my spirit, mind, and all my service to be thine forever. Thou shalt say, appropriate thou me, soul and body, in whatsoever way thou canst, that I may do the most good unto others, mortals and angels. Until thou attainest this, thou shalt not hear my voice, nor see my hand. As I gave away myself, and thus created all things, so shalt thou follow in my footsteps in order to become one with me. Herein lieth the secret of wisdom, truth, love, and power, time without end. And this is absolutely amazing. There was a thought that I had, that I just remembered I was thinking about yesterday as I was just walking through, looking, observing things, and just thinking about scriptures and thinking about things from OAHSPE and thinking about the Father and how he seems to always elude our capture, right? But yet he's always ever present with us, teaching us and guiding us along the way through observation and reflection time, right? And we complain sometimes that we can't see him or show me the Father when he's been constantly showing us himself all the time. And even though we don't see him manifested in the flesh like we see flesh, like sometimes like, well, if I don't see it, if I can't touch it, I don't believe it, right? But you don't realize we are still encapsulated in the womb, and the creator, he is fully in the realm where we will be born into, right? And so when we are just like, it's just like now, when we are fully born into that realm, nobody here will be able to see us, right? We're living encapsulated in like complete darkness. Think about a baby in the womb, right? A baby in the womb can hear the voice of its mother and father, yet it can't see it, right? And that's a lot of times, excuse me, that's a lot of times what's happening to us here. We're in the womb. Oh, well, I hear something going on. Maybe y'all just don't exist. Baby, you're still in the womb developing. You'll be born soon, and you're going to see that we do exist. And we're not going to have flesh like you have flesh now. You just cut this. This is literally, we're in multiple wombs, y'all. Not only are we in the womb of the earth, right? But our spirit is within the womb of our flesh. So a lot of times the things that we perceive spiritually is coming from the place of where mom and dad comes from when we're inside the womb, and when babies are born and they hear the familiar voice and they know, oh, now I can put a face to a voice. I'm not just hearing a voice anymore. I'm here now with you in this realm, and I can see you now, right? So I'm sure when we get in that realm, we'll be able to see or perceive the Father a little bit more in that realm if we keep developing. Shucks, there may be another whole realm of not seeing spirit to where the Father is in. I'm sure it's there. He's just taking us through the different phases of life, and each womb phase and birth phase is like we're being born over and over again, right? To different levels, right? So that's how I like to look at the term born again. Not born again, baptized in the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and Jesus save my soul. Not that. I got matches for that, right? But if you look at it from the spiritual aspect, it's like growth is happening all around, and the Father is truly with us every step of the way. All right, y'all. So that's it. I'm done. I'm about to go back to sleep. 7-Eleven. Hold on, write this down. 7-Eleven. So this is the last part today. So this is part 4 of 4 in the book of inspiration, y'all. It is Wednesday, October the 12th, 2022, day 235. It's about to throughout my sound. I know it's throughout my sound. And I'm not gonna restart it again. I know y'all can't hear me, so y'all gotta know by now. Just click over, come on over to YouTube. We are on day 235 of year 4 reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1254. We just finished reading in OAHSPE, Book of Inspiration, the last few chapters 14 through 18, which is found on pages 708 to 711. All right, and Father, we thank you that we hear. Hold on, how can I say this? Oh man, it's kind of selfish. It needs to be all about him. Maybe how I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to describe this without it sounding selfish, but he is like a wise Father. You are the voice. I just thought about this. In certain cultures, they call the creator the voice, right? Think about babies in the womb. They will call the voice of, there's two voices, right? That's the voice. That's the voice, right? But they're in the womb, they surrounded by all this other stuff. But there is definitely a voice that they hear, right? So yeah, Father, yeah, so I got a whole new understanding of the voice. So I'm gonna just say you are the voice, right? We hear it. We hear you outside of this womb, right? You are the voice, right? All right, y'all. I don't know how I want to do this because I don't want to pre-record this next chapter, right? Because we start the book of Shalom, or book of Jehovah's Kingdom on earth, which containeth within it the book of Shalom, right? So, our flight leaves out tonight at 9:45, right? And we'll be in Cali. We won't arrive in Cali until like 6:45, right? Um, it's possible because my husband said, he said, babe, remember we got like a 4-hour layover. He said, you may, because we just gonna go back to the United Club while we're there. So we not sitting out in the airport. We go back in there. So I may, let's just say that, right? Listen, I'm not gonna pre-record this next one. I'm gonna just wait. But if I do it live, let me see something. Hold on, where did I put it? I also wrote it down on something. And I'll make a post. What did I hold on? Let me see if I can this itinerary. Hold on, just real quick. Because what I think I'm gonna have to come back. I'm gonna say, okay, so Cali is what? California is what, 4 hours behind Virginia? Is it 4 hours behind Virginia? California. I could do it when I get back and settle at home, but I know as soon as I get in the door, I'm gonna just make a beeline straight to the bedroom, go to sleep. I probably won't because the kids gonna be all around. It's gonna be super loud, right? Okay, so maybe we will, right? So we get back. Okay, so we leave tonight. We get back home tomorrow, like 2:30. So maybe it's 3. Yeah, so let's just flip it to the evening. Y'all want to just flip it to the evening? Like 7:15, like my husband sleep. I ain't even ran this past him yet. He was like, Pam, why don't you just wait? I'm just trying to see. Maybe here's what I do, right? So let's say tomorrow night, I'm gonna just pencil it in. I'm gonna pencil it in if I can't go live from the United Club while we're at the airport because I get awesome Wi-Fi stuff there, and it'll be let me see, calculating. I got to do the calculation of the hours. Okay, it'll be 1 or 2 times tomorrow, y'all. Right? So if I can't go live and I try to go live from the time, would I already be past the time? 6. If it's 6, hold on. It's Cali what? California is 3 hours or 4 hours. I gotta think this over. Listen, just wait for a post from me. Well, I figure out the mathematics on this, y'all, because I'm still kind of. But if I don't go live, it'll be in the morning. It may be a little after. It should be 9. Okay. I'll figure it out. If I can't go live from there, right? We'll just do it at like 7:15 tomorrow evening. Yeah, I know, right? Maybe because I feel like I've just been on the roll with doing every day except for the Sabbath. Let's just do that. Let's. This is gonna be too much, and I know my husband sleep. He gonna be like, and I'm sitting here telling y'all times, and I feel it deep down in my shana. Nah, he gonna say, nope. They gonna have to wait. I just feel it. So let's just do this. Just go back and rewatch this video today. So we'll come back Friday, right? Let's just come back Friday just to be on the safe side with the travelers don't know. Because like I said, I really don't want to pre-record this. I really want this to be live. Okay, so we'll come back Friday, right? We'll come back Friday on time, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's do that. Travel. And if I can go live from the airport, that means I'm gonna have to not pack this. Or I might have to. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just plan for. Let me not sit here and make all these plans without running past my husband. We just come back Friday, right? Friday, 7:15 a.m. tomorrow. We'll just make it a travel day, right? But if I can't come on for like a few minutes or something, I go live. I say hi to everybody, but I'm not gonna promise that. So we'll just say Friday. Friday we'll be back here, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's cool, y'all, right? Okay, it's gonna have to be. Otherwise, my husband will have some words for me. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I see y'all back here Friday, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll still be uploading some more posts and stuff today. We went to the Buddhist temple, all that stuff. I'm gonna try and get it all posted today, but not right now. I'm about to go back to sleep. And so be watching it. I love y'all. Bye. Peace. Bye, y'all. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out.